Hello, welcome to another weekly video. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the choices that we have to make when we follow God. Usually they're not easy choices, and most of the time I don't think that people know that they have to make the choice when they're in the moment. But um, you kind of understand looking back more what what kind of choices that you have to make for God. The biggest one I wanted to talk about was, um, making choices against um, some of the relationships that we have. I guess I'll focus on family because that seems to be the one that people struggle with the most. I know a lot of people struggle with like objects and stuff like that, but I just happen to hear a lot of people struggle with family. Um, I think it's hard because um, when we look at what things happen in the world, it's kind of expected that when you get married, you have to um, form some type of relationship um, with your spouse's family, and holidays are a great example of how we all have to spend time with each other's families and try to get along and having children, the grandparents want access to the child, and um and there's just a lot of like things that families want to be a part of, um but unfortunately, from what I see, there's always a lot of unhealthy dynamics between um parents and children. It comes from situations that really happen before you get married to somebody, but um, parents kind of form these dynamics that a lot of times aren't really healthy for us as children. Speaking about my family, there was a lot of things that I mean, I guess it wasn't real bad as a single person. But even when I look back at the things that my family wanted me to do as a single person, I still kind of feel like it was kind of unreasonable. Um, but with the way that my family was, it made sense to me why they they asked the things that they did. It's really hard to rely on other people, so I think our parents tend to rely on us as their children to do things that maybe they shouldn't. Um, and when we were single, there was no problem with it. So you know, immediately getting married, the whole dynamic changes. Um, these things that your parents ask you to do doesn't really feel reasonable anymore. Not that it really ever was, but when you add another person to your life, it's just not the same. Um, it's not the same level of um, things that you used to do. So, so I think just with the things that I've seen, I think God requires us um, to change our relationships when we get married, specifically. Um, I'll try to talk about some other things that aren't really relationships. I mean, if you like to go to, um, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but if you like to go to the club, or if you like to go to a bar when you're single, um, it could change a lot if you try to bring somebody else into that picture, because they may not want to do that the same way that you do. And I mean, going to the club as a single person, you probably have some kind of idea of what it looks like, you know. I mean, you know how to navigate the club, but when you bring somebody else in it, um, they may not know all the same things you do and may not feel the same. I mean, if you go to the club and you're just used to um, all these guys or girls coming up to you and you just brush them off, well, you bring in somebody else in that dynamic, they may get jealous seeing all these people coming up to you. So um, it just a lot of things seem to change when you bring another person into it. So um, so I think God requires us to adjust quite a bit when we get married. Basically, drop a lot of the things that we did um, as single people. We have to adjust and sometimes drop those behaviors. A lot of them really aren't good for two people. Probably not really one either, but you know, I think when we're single, we do a lot of things to cope because we don't know what else to do. Um, but you know, I like I was saying, I focus more on family because it's so hard to see what's wrong with it, and then it's hard to see um, what really needs to be changed. Like a big one for me was, you know, I when I was single and I would come around my parents, my mother would sometimes um, be dressed in a way that I didn't really like. I don't know why I thought, you know, she wouldn't be like that with um, with somebody else coming into the picture, like a visitor or something. But when um, when I brought my husband over to visit my parents, my mother would still dress inappropriately, and I started to realize that really made me uncomfortable. Um, that she was, well, it made me more uncomfortable that she was doing it with my husband. I really didn't think that she would, and you know, it was a huge learning process because, you know, like I said, when we're single, we tend to tolerate things, but you know, I guess I really thought that my mother would change. You know, I thought every time we saw her, she would not be wearing things that are inappropriate, because because she wouldn't want to be have herself exposed like that. But um, having my husband in the situation didn't really change things. In fact, sometimes it made it worse. So so I had to change the um, the way that I visited her. Unfortunately, I got to a point where I couldn't see her at all, but you know, it was just obvious to me. I couldn't come to her house because she would always be wearing something inappropriate at her house. So I mean, this is just an example. You know, I used to be able to go to her house, and then I couldn't go anymore. You know, and then you know, a lot of things had to be analyzed. We used to go out to eat with with her and my stepdad, um, and some things just were said more and more when we went out to eat that were I didn't feel like were appropriate and um, were really hard to just deal with, I guess, and so we couldn't go out to eat with them anymore. But that's why it's kind of hard to go into too much because there's so many details probably with everybody's life. Like you have to go through um, trials and tests to really see where your parents stand. And if they're mistreating your spouse, you have to make adjustments and changes. Um, I think that's what God intends us to do. Just make some changes to um, to not have so much of an influence from our parents if they are doing things that are destructive. Um, So really, I think I'm just going to leave it right there. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day.